All in Sports Network. We love sports.
And the first weekend of March Madness is in the books. Day 4 officially wrapped up. We have our Sweet 16. There are 7 SEC teams that qualified. That makes it the most out of any conference to advance to the Sweet 16. But we do have Texas Longhorns news. We have Texas basketball news. Out is Rodney Terry. In is Sean Miller. It is Miller time from Xavier, and a long time Arizona head coach, had 2 stints at Xavier, went to Arizona for about 11, 12 years, and then went back to Xavier for the last 2 or 3. And now he will be lined up as the next Texas Longhorn men's basketball coach. We will get into that. Texas baseball beats LSU in their home series, their opening SEC home series against number 2 LSU Tigers. 2-1 in that series. We will discuss that, as well as give you the breakdown of the March Madness games today. We probably won't spend as much time as we have on our previous episodes on today's games, but we did finally get a buzzer beater to win it with the Maryland and Colorado State game. So we will get into that and all the goodness that March Madness, the first and second round, has brought to us the last 4 days going into the Sweet 16. Jake, how are you feeling? I know we're both exhausted. We are both about as sports brain dead as you can possibly be. We are here for the people. It is about 11:30 at night on a work night. But hey, this is why we get paid the big bucks. We grind it out.
Yeah. I mean, health-wise, feeling about the best I've felt in like 6-7 days, but yeah, my brain is cooked. There's nothing left. I can't think about any over-unders, any betting lines right now. Just nothing left in the tank. But I did think today was probably the best day because we had multiple probably 3 of the top games of the tournament so far.
Definitely the game of the tournament by far in terms of just, I thought from beginning to end, I thought Colorado State, Maryland was a very well played game. Florida, UConn to kick things off earlier today was an excellent game. What was
Arizona, Oregon?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd put that as the top 3 game of the tournament, Jake.
I'm not saying top 3 game of the tournament, but I'm saying 3. Those 3 are probably in the top 6 or 7 games of the tournament.
I would put those as the best 3 games today by far.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I would put Florida, UConn, and Maryland, Colorado State probably both in the top 3 of the tournament so far.
Yeah,
and Arizona, Oregon was probably one of the top 5 or 6 games of the tournament.
It kind of ended the same as the other games that we were talking about, with building up, could be an exciting finish, and then was kind of a letdown. And that was simply because of the fouling with a 3-point lead for the final 2 minutes of the game. It felt like. But 3-point lead, foul, 3-point lead, foul.
I think seeing Caleb Love take over the game and the way he did,
that was exciting.
Seeing both teams blow double-digit leads. Oregon had a 15-point lead. Arizona had an 11-point lead. They both blew that throughout the game and then met in the middle.
Yeah.
And then Caleb Love just scoring 10 in a row to seal the game with one of the best performances we see in the tournament so far.
Yeah.
In previous tournaments, this game probably doesn't touch it.
Is this his 10th March Madness tournament that he's played in, Caleb Love?
At minimum.
A veteran. But yes, no, it was cool to see that. He did dominate. And, as much as people want to give him a hard time for the amount of basketball that he's played in college, considering he's a graduate and a COVID player that got an extra year of eligibility because of that, feels like he should have graduated 2-3 years ago. But yeah, no, it was a good game. There are some other games throughout this tournament over the last, I was talking to my dad about it. I went over to my parents' house because it was my brother's now fiance. Congratulations to the happy couple.
Finally.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. He proposed to her on her birthday a couple days ago, and then we had a dinner tonight for her birthday. And but yeah, we're kind of just going over the games of what was happening. My dad was like, I was watching a game when it was a 10-point game and they gave it up. Who did that? And I was like, Dad, that you just described 90% of the games that happened this year. I can't go through them all. He was talking about Texas A&M, Michigan though. But anyway, just trying to recollect of what happened in what games. I kind of need maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to actually refresh my memory and like watch highlights of each game and just kind of like make sure it's diagnosed in there. But I'm kind of at sports mush right now. Jake, let's go ahead and get into the topic of conversation. Let's lead the show with Sean Miller being hired as the new men's basketball coach. It felt like a couple hours after they announced the firing of Rodney Terry officially. And then they had Sean Miller kind of next in line, ready to go after losing to Xavier in the first 4 games of this year's tournament. He will be the next head coach, and I like the hire, Jake. I'm a fan of it. I'm all aboard. I think it's a good fit.
Yeah, I like to hire. He was doing well at Arizona until the investigations happened, which, by the way, it was investigations over things that are allowed now. So
for people, for the people who don't remember, I think it was 2018, 2019 ish range. DeAndre Ayton, freshman player of the year, was big time recruit for Arizona. Went on to make a run into the March Madness tournament with DeAndre Ayton. Obviously was drafted, I think, in the top 3 picks of the NBA draft and for the Phoenix Suns, but was reported that he was making like $100K or something along those lines, and FBI investigations came down, and it actually ended up Sean Miller was actually not guilty of any like wrongdoings, but was fired and let go, took a year off, was then rehired by Xavier about a year later after the fact. And now he finds himself on the sidelines for Texas, and I'm sure he's going to get right down to recruiting and transfer portal and all the fun things that comes. And so I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of roster turnover, Jake, I would assume in the next 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine retainment's going to be definitely something that he is looking at immediately. Actually, in his press conference, he talked a lot about Chindo Weaver for the Xavier press conference when they were preparing for that game, and how any team would want to have him. And it's like, okay, well, that age is funny now. Maybe he was doing little player retainment before he ever got the job. But this is actually who allegedly Chris Del Conte wanted to hire the year that they ended up hiring Rodney Terry. I think Chris Del Conte felt a little forced into the Rodney Terry hire, and I think he was. I mean, you had fans who said that they didn't want, to hire him based off prior head coaching, but when you have a coach that makes it to the Elite Eight in an interim status, the optics of not making that hire outweigh making the hire and then moving on after a couple years if it doesn't work out.
I would have been frustrated had they not hired Rodney Terry. I mean, I just in the moment, recency bias, I would have been upset in that moment had Texas lost the Elite Eight and then they say, oh, we're going to go a different way.
But he's a good basketball coach. He's a good recruiter. And I think in the NIL era, with now at a school that has the resources for it, because I think he was overachieving at Xavier. And I think most people who are in the know of basketball and have been talking about this hire, from what I've read and seen, all have mentioned that, how he was kind of overachieving at Xavier with what he was given. And now he gets his opportunity at Texas. For anyone that thought, I know there were some rumors of Bill Self talking. Bill Self's had health issues. I don't think it was likely for that alone. He has like a lifetime contract at KU. Texas was not going to be willing to pay a big buyout because they're paying just about $6 million on a buyout for Rodney Terry to fire him. Then you're going to pay, like if you go after Rick Pitino, you're paying like a $20 million buyout. That's not happening. And so Will Wade had already agreed to terms with NC State basically before the tournament started. And so, yeah, I think Chris Del Conte just went with what his gut told him the first time. And I don't doubt his gut. Look at what Schloss is doing with Texas baseball already, which we'll get into here in a second. And
Art, Vic Schaefer, all the hires.
Every single hire he's made other than Rodney Terry, which I wouldn't really say was a Crystal
It was
Conte hire.
it was the circumstance that had presented itself in that moment. He had to do. And again, I fully supported it when it happened. I fully support it now, 3 years after the fact of him making that move. It just it 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 played out the way it was supposed to play out. And at the end of the day, CDC still got the guy he wanted to hire in the first place. So it's really no harm, no foul, just 3 years removed. So I believe Sean Miller is going to hit the ground running, and I'm excited to hear his introductory press conference for the University of Texas. We'll kind of diagnose that and get into that when that happens. And yeah, they sent out a respectful press release in regards of firing or, letting go, parting ways with Rodney Terry, and saying, did the university a great service for his years on the sideline, whether that be an assistant or as a head coach. And, just going to go a separate way, going to go a different direction with where the program is right now. So, but yeah, Jake, big other news that happened this weekend, aside from March Madness, it also happened to be the home opening series for SEC play in for Texas baseball, and winning that series 2-1, winning the last two straight against LSU, the number 2 team in the country, losing and dropping the first game 8-2, winning the second game, 11-7, and then
I believe so.
Third game was then Texas won 8-2 and got that back from game 1. And so just a really, really fun series. Jake, you watched
6-2 was the score today.
Gotcha.
11-7 was the score 2 nights ago.
Yeah, but yeah, Jake, you had you watched actually quite a bit of these games and series.
I watched all of them.
Yeah,
from start to finish. I now, granted, I was multitasking. I had 4 games on the TV. I had the game going on my phone for baseball.
We had a Stars game going on at one point.
Yeah. At one point, I had a laptop down here. I had my phone going, the laptop going, and 4 games going on the TV.
I said, our brains are sports mush just about.
Yeah. Now. During the Oregon-Arizona game, I thought to myself, I just hope Arizona just pulls away at one point, because I was like, I just want to record and go to bed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's how brain dead I am at this point.
And guess what? Tomorrow at about 1:00 in the afternoon, we've got women's basketball against Illinois. So
hopefully just take care of business there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is a gigantic series win for Texas baseball. You lose that Tuesday game to UTSA. UTSA did play multiple starters for pitchers during that game. Once they realized they had a chance, instead of just putting in like a regular bullpen guy, they threw in another one of their best starters. I'd be curious to see how they did this weekend, considering the arms that they used to get that victory. But you dropped that first game 8-2, and honestly, it felt worse than 8-2 just based off watching the game. Texas it felt like you were watching a team who was on a different tier, and Texas responded and proved that wrong.
Well, and then you double that up with the loss on Tuesday night against UTSA.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Because things can spiral quickly down in the SEC and baseball especially. You win that second game, but then I was like, okay, I feel good about the series. You win it, that's just bonus. I didn't expect them to win the series. I wanted them to win one game to prove they can compete with these top teams. And to win the series and to kind of dominate this last game. Never trailed in it. The middle game was back and forth. One of the most exciting college baseball games I've seen. It was just back and forth. Both teams scoring, both teams lead changes and everything. But then Sunday just took care of business. And just an extremely impressive win, extremely impressive response, showing kind of what their mental was made of early in the season. First time kind of being tested. Things had been a little they lost that Louisville game that they kind of threw away, and then went on as like a 17 game win streak, then lose to UTSA on a Tuesday game. You're like, okay, how are they going to do against LSU? Then that first game happens. You're like, uh-oh. And then for them to respond to that with back-to-back wins gives me pretty high hopes of what this team can accomplish.
What's crazy is, Jake, that UTSA game feels like it was 2 months ago. And
I watched that, and
I watched it from I watched the last I think I watched the last 7 innings of that game going into extras, and it just feels as though that game happened 2 months ago, and it was not even a full week ago. But yeah, you've got Sam Houston coming up on the schedule. Then this upcoming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you've got at Missouri, Missouri team that they just beat Texas A&M, correct, in their series?
No, Vanderbilt just beat Texas A&M. I'm
Oh,
not sure
Vanderbilt.
what Missouri just did. I'll pull it up if you talk for a second.
But yeah, you're looking at Texas going on a decent little win streak following Saturday's game against LSU. You followed that up with another win to win the series on Sunday. Then you're looking at Tuesday against Sam Houston. Should win that one in Austin. Then you travel to Columbia for the next 3 at Missouri, who is unranked and
Oh,
should
0-6, 0-6 in
in their
SEC play.
0-6 in SEC play. So you're looking at a pretty good win streak going into that Texas State game. Now, I'm not going to say you should just go in and blow the doors off of Texas State, because that Texas State program is a good baseball program for a Tuesday night game. So, but looking to start your SEC playoff with essentially winning your next 3, that would put you at 8-1.
Yeah, they need to win these 4 games this week.
Yeah.
Just to continue, kind of get back in another flow of wins. Also, with the schedule they have, you got to win the series and the games you're expected to win.
Correct.
The Tuesday night games can be hit. I mean, UTSA is a good baseball team this year. Texas State's a good baseball team. You drop a couple of those, it's fine. It's a Tuesday game. But like Missouri, you can't lose that series. If you drop a game, it's not the end of the world, but that's a team they should sweep. They got swept by LSU handedly, and they got swept by Ole Miss handedly. That's a series that Texas should go in and just sweep. Doesn't have to be easy, but it should be a sweep if this team is, Omaha capable, which right now all signs point to they are at least that they can definitely make that. I definitely think that I wouldn't say that's the expectation yet, but I would say that feels like a realistic possibility now. It has to, after you beat the number 2 team in the nation.
Well, because the reason why this Missouri series is so important to win and pretty much sweep, you've got Georgia waiting for you on the other side of it, and Georgia, the number 4 team in the country right now.
Yeah, and that's just going to be SEC play. I mean, even down the road, you're going to have A&M coming up in a few series, and A&M is 0-6 in conference play, but has one of the top 5 ERAs in all of college baseball. Their bats are just cold. And that's a team that if their bats wake up and you catch them on the wrong weekend, they could all of a sudden be playing like one of those top teams in the nation.
Sure.
Arkansas is going to be a tough series. Kentucky's pretty good. I mean, there's just nothing easy on the schedule. Oklahoma's good. Florida's good. So when you get a series like Missouri in this season, that's a series that you need to take care of and you need to sweep.
All right, Jake, let's go ahead and dive into March Madness, the final day. We've got our full Sweet 16 all set up. You've got Auburn taking on Michigan. You've got Ole Miss taking on Michigan State. You've got Florida taking on Maryland, and you've got Arkansas and Texas Tech. That fills out the left side of your bracket. On the right side, Duke, Arizona, BYU, Alabama, and Houston and Purdue, which, come on, Houston. And then you've got Kentucky taking on Tennessee. Ought to be great, a really good Sweet 16, Jake. I think from here on out, we're in for some really, really good basketball. We talked about some of the games of the day, starting off with UConn and Florida. And again, you and I, we both said, let's be real, UConn's not an 8 seed here. Like they played to the caliber of potentially competing for a national championship today.
Yeah, if you're Florida, you're like, man, what? How in the hell are we a 1 seed and end up playing the 2-time champs? We said that going into the game, and then you got UConn playing at a top level, and this was one of the best games of the tournament so far. It was entertaining from start to finish. Dan Hurley.
I thought the intensity and the energy of this game was way up above what we've seen up to this point.
Yeah, it was a game between 2 teams playing at not necessarily their peak level, but damn close, to say the least. And just the big shots, the back and forth momentum swings, you kind of felt like UConn had control. Then Florida made a run, and it was just it it was everything I want in a March Madness game when you have two programs like Florida and UConn meeting. And for Florida, you got to feel really good coming out of this game. You got to feel battle tested
I
coming out of
think
this game. I
their
feel like it's got to
confidence.
be a bigger boost of momentum than you would normally expect after winning your second round game as a 1 seed.
Yeah, Walter Clayton Jr., Jake, that was a hell of a performance. It wasn't necessarily that he just blew the doors off the box score. What he did, though, is play extremely efficiently. And he did everything you needed and then some. He was 5 of 8 from 3, hit his free throws when he needed to at the end of games, led the team in scoring with 23 points. Just an all-around, best player making the best plays at the best time of the game for the number one team in this region of the bracket against defending back-to-back national champions. And then you had Danny Hurley post game crying after being eliminated, and he really wanted this game, and he really thought that this team, he believed that this UConn team, could make another run in the national championship. That's the way his brain is wired, that it doesn't matter what seed they are, but they could possibly and should, be competing for a national championship year in and year out. I thought they had a really good. I was watching one of the post games or maybe a halftime and it was Kenny the Jet. It was Chuck and I can't remember the other guys' names, but they were talking about the finitism of the tournament and kind of, college basketball as a whole. Of some of these guys you play with in high school, they don't all make it to the college level. Then you play in the college level, some of these guys make it to the next level of the NBA, but you're never going to play with this exact group of guys ever again. And that's why it means so much. That's why you get tears on the sidelines. That's why you get guys breaking down and getting so emotional after games, is because there is a finitism to the tournament of you're never going to have this exact team with this exact locker room and these exact guys ever again.
Yeah, and that's why you see the emotion come out of the players and the coaches. And I thought that post-game interview with Hurley was really good. And I just like how he talks about it sounds like he's talking about a war. He's talking about the honor of the game, and they played a great opponent who had great honor, and he felt like they went out in an honorable way, which I think everyone would agree on. I mean, they didn't just go out and get the doors blown off them, despite not having a great season, especially by their standards.
Mm-hmm.
Still were probably better than an 8 seed. I don't know what some of the seeding was in this tournament. We've talked about that before, but they went out swinging against a Florida team who Florida didn't even play bad. That's the thing is Florida didn't play bad, but that's just how good UConn is. Even this year, not as good as previous years when they are playing to their ability. And I feel like Dan Hurley's just one of those coaches who you never want him to be a lower seed, because he's going to have his team playing their best basketball come tournament time. He is just that type of coach.
He's got that Kirby Smartism to him, to where he can make his team, although they should always probably be favorites, if they're ever considered an underdog, he's going to make sure that their team feels like they're underdogs and get them to play up to their highest standard. Jake, anything else on the UConn Florida game?
No, just when that started out, I was like, oh, this whole day is going to be awesome. And granted, there did end up being, like I said, I think probably one of the strongest days, if not the strongest day, as far as just having multiple really fun, entertaining games. But this definitely was one of the most of the whole tournament.
Next game up on the slate was Duke Blue Devils beating Baylor by 23, 89-66. And, Baylor, they had 4 of their starting 5 scoring in double digits. The only problem is they had 10 total bench points with one player getting 7 points. And that's the thing, is I think Baylor always had the handful of prolific scorers that were capable of making this a decent game, but depth was always going to be an issue. And Duke just dominates in that department, just basically across the board. Cooper Flagg with 18, K Nipple with 12, and Proctor with 25. Cooper Flagg, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He's everything that he was supposed to be, and then some. He's such a fun player to watch. And for Duke, this is one of the least hateable Duke teams, maybe.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't.
pretty fun to watch.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, they will beat the living crap out of everyone in this tournament if they keep shooting 65% from the field and 55% from three and only turn it over 6 times. Baylor ran into a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
I mean,
we talked
Duke
about
just
that yesterday.
Duke just wasn't missing. And if you catch Duke on a day like this, granted, Baylor's defense was spotty. But Baylor did hang in there for a while. And then there was a run with about 2 minutes left in the first half, or maybe it's 3 or 4 minutes. Duke went on a big run and they kind of got that lead, and then they just kept growing it come the second half. And yeah, I mean, this Duke team is loaded. I don't think I have a hard time imagining Arizona even competing with them. I think I originally said I don't think they'll get competed with until the Elite Eight. I still think that's probably the case. Maybe even the Final Four. I think the way their bracket lines up, they're going to be able to just boat race anyone out of the stadium. Maybe Alabama could, just because if Alabama gets hot, they can. It doesn't matter how your defense plays, but Duke is scary on both sides of the basketball.
Yeah, no, they, like you said, Jake. And we talked about it when we were filling out our brackets about a week ago. That this Duke team, they just, I don't think that they'll be contested until maybe the Elite Eight. But if Bama's defense doesn't start clicking, or I mean, heck, we got to see if Bama can even get by a BYU. But like we mentioned, BYU is a Duke. A less version of what Duke actually is. So
The BYU maybe has me believing a little bit. Their offense, I mean, they are prolific.
They shoot at a high efficiency. They really do.
If they're shooting to the peak of their abilities, I think they can beat anyone on any given night. There's gonna be some things that need to go their way. Honestly, at this point, I think anyone to beat Duke is going to need things to kind of bounce their way.
And
right now, if I was redoing my bracket from here, which I got 11 out of 16 for the Sweet 16, by the way, not terrible considering I did lose a Final Four team in St. John's. But if I was redoing my bracket right now, maybe we'll do that where we redo it from this point on next week. But I would have Duke winning it all right now.
I mean, I've got Duke in my national champion.
I do as well.
Chip, losing to Florida, however, but I think it would be hard for me to just be like, oh, well, I don't believe in Florida anymore. You know, like I feel like if Florida on their best day could beat Duke on and I've got Florida beating Duke by 1 point, 87-86. So it's not like I could make a huge change there. But Jake, in terms of my bracket, I'll show everybody since it's in all of its glory. All my Elite Eight, all my Final Four, and my national championships obviously are still intact. But I've got only 9 of the Sweet 16 correct. 7.
You are trailing me currently in the bracket challenge.
Yes, but I have more potential points to gain than you do. But that's strictly because you've lost a Final Four team. But Kentucky 84, Fighting Illini of Illinois 75. This is a 9-point game. Jake, I think turnovers was the big glaring stat that jumps out to me in this one. Illinois had 14 turnovers to Kentucky's 5.
Yeah, I didn't understand why Illinois was the favorite in this game. As far as talking Vegas betting lines, I mean, I put a hefty bet on the Kentucky money line, and I never even had to sweat it. Yeah, Illinois just had kind of like their first game, just, Kentucky was better than Xavier. They have way more talent than Xavier does. Illinois had long stretches where they just played bad basketball, turned it over, got weak with the ball. And Kentucky just didn't have stretches like that. Illinois didn't shoot the ball as well. And Kentucky shot it well enough. But yeah, turnovers were definitely the story of this game. There was just, like I said, long, stretches of 3 to 4 minutes where Illinois just got sloppy with the ball, kind of weak with the ball at times.
Yeah.
And almost lackadaisical. And Kentucky just took full advantage of those stretches. And it was really like 3 or 4 runs that made up this game.
Jake, we'll just move right along because that game didn't really stand out to me all that much. It was just kind of, like you said, beginning to end, it felt like Kentucky was in full control of it. Next game will also probably feel that way. Alabama 80, St. Mary 66. We kind of called this one. We kind of knew Bama was just going to dog walk them. Field goal percentage, Jake, want to throw this one at you. Alabama shot 51.8% from the field. St. Mary, 34.3. That pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Alabama was 7 of 17 from beyond the arc. St. Mary was 3 of 14. Rebounds, Alabama out-rebounded them in every way, had more assists than they did. St. Mary's did have more steals. Alabama had more blocks. And, it essentially from top to bottom out statistically beat the St. Mary Gales. And, Alabama wins that one easily, advances to the Sweet 16, and they will play BYU in what I believe is going to be a just dynamite. I think any game BYU plays from here on out is going to be a terrific game.
Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, Bama got a 10 to 14 point lead in this game, and then it just stayed within 10 to 14 the whole game. They just hit cruise control. If you're shooting below 40%, you are not beating Alabama.
Or Duke or Florida.
And it's kind of why Alabama was only a 5.5 point favorite in this game. And that was another line that jumped at, because I'm kind of to the point now where I'm just betting games I feel confident in because I'm up and I would like to end up.
Hey, if you can end up in March Madness, you're doing really good.
Yeah. And so I only bet games I felt confident in. This was one of them because this is like 5.5. I just don't see a world where St. Mary stays that close. And honestly, St. Mary kept it closer than I thought they would, but I think that had more to do with Alabama just kind of hitting cruise and just slowing the pace of the game and not trying to go 100 miles per hour because they knew they were going to win as long as they didn't get too crazy and reckless. Just kind of got that one run that pushed them out the start and then just cruise control the rest of the way.
Yep. Jake, game of the day, game of the tournament, Colorado State, Maryland, 71-72, buzzer beater from the freshman to win it. After Colorado State, just an absolute onions of a three-pointer to take the lead, 71-70. With 3.6 seconds left, it's been a game that every child, every young boy has played in the driveway of their with a basketball hoop in their driveway. 3, 2, 1. And you hit it or you don't, and then you get fouled, and then you're like, oh, no, you get free throws. What's going on here? I had to hit free throws all the time.
Then you miss the free throw and it's a lane violation.
Yeah, and then you just keep going until you get it at least into overtime. But anyway, it was every young boy's dream to hit the shot that was hit by Maryland, trying to get the player
Derek Queen.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yep. And so just a great game, fun game, and it was back and forth. Colorado State proved why they were in the tournament and proved themselves to be, a worthy opponent in this tournament, and that they beat Memphis because they were the better team than Memphis. It wasn't a fluke because they gave it everything that Maryland had.
Yeah, my only missed bet of the day. I had bet the Maryland like 7.5 point spread. I think it was. Colorado State proved why they were a favorite in that first game.
Yeah,
they just play good basketball. I mean, they have guys who can shoot from behind the arc. Obviously, Clifford is incredible. Was somewhat close to a triple-double in this game. And, I mean, it took every bit of Maryland fighting and clawing back into this game. Colorado State led the vast majority.
It felt like the Ram. I mean, they were up by 7 at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, they led for I would say the majority of this game for sure. And Maryland just kept coming, and then Colorado State hits that shot, and you go, okay, that was close enough to a buzzer beater where I was already like, finally, this is this is March Madness. This is the March Madness moment. And then for Maryland to go down and hit the buzzer beater, it was max madness.
That shot by Queen, though,
it's incredible.
People are talking online. Was it a travel? I say no. I feel like it was a pretty clean basketball play. He gathered step. Technically a third step without dribbling, but I thought his shot, Queen's shot, looked like it was about to, high off the backboard, just not even come close. I thought when it came off of his hand, I was like, oh, that is ugly. And then it banks in. I'm like, it was incredible. It was a great moment, and I'm glad we got that moment for this year's tournament.
Yeah, and Maryland is the most unique team in the tournament. All their starters played at least 33 minutes. Derek Queen was the one with the lowest at 33. The next four all played 36 or 37 minutes. They had 2 bench points. 2. Colorado State had 18 bench points.
That's
But
insane.
you don't need a bench when you got the Crab 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like
And
that.
I mean, they have a great starting 5, probably the best, maybe the best starting 5 in the turn, one of the top 3 or 4 starting 5s in the whole tournament.
And that's why they don't sub them out.
And that's, you just don't let them rest. You only got to play 2 games right now at a time. And then you get some rest. So why not just
It
keep them
feels
out
like
there?
the deeper Maryland gets into this tournament, the scarier they'll be.
Yeah, I mean, you catch them on a day where all their players are just on. Good luck. Get them in the foul trouble, because that's about all you got. I mean, Purdue would have a great shot against them, and Duke would have a great shot against them.
We did say that Purdue did already beat this Maryland team earlier.
Yes, and there's no hidden. We all know why. Without even having to watch that game. But yeah, Maryland's a very fun team. I was glad they won this game, because I don't think Colorado State would have any shot against Florida, though they've already proven me wrong twice. So what do I know?
Yeah.
But Maryland, at least their starting 5 is going to be able to play with Florida.
It'll be fun. Now, will Florida maybe outrun them? Possibly.
Probably.
Probably. Ole Miss, Iowa State. I didn't see this game going the way it went. Not the fact of Ole Miss winning, but the way they won. They kind of dominated really the entire game. Iowa State, I didn't really think had a chance to win this game. Very early on in the game, I was like, ooh, this one looks over. This one looks in full command of the Ole Miss Rebels, and Chris Beard will advance to the Sweet 16 with the Ole Miss Rebels, and they will take on Michigan State. I think that's a unique matchup. I think Michigan State's a team that is going to battle and claw in just about every game that they're in. And Ole Miss is a team who is willing and able to battle and claw and scratch to come up with a win, and just the kind of style that Chris Beard likes to play. So I'm curious how that matchup is going to go in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, it's probably going to come down to whose shooters shoot best. I mean, Michigan State just had a horrendous shooting game, which kind of single-handedly kept New Mexico in that game. We'll get to that in a minute. But, I mean, Ole Miss blew the doors off of Iowa State. This got up to a 26-point game. I thought Ole Miss had a chance. I didn't bet who won this game. I bet the over, which did hit, because I just thought this would be a high-scoring game. But, I mean, Iowa State shot 48% from the field and 36% from 3 and weren't even competitive. But, I mean, Ole Miss shot 58% from the field and 58% from 3, which is good luck beating any team when they're shooting that well. Also, turnovers was a big story in this game. Iowa State just about double the turnovers of Ole Miss. But yeah, this game quickly became one I was not paying attention to on my TV.
Same.
I mean, it was about 10 minutes left in the first. It was like a 2 or 3 point game. Ole Miss went on a run. Game never got within like 15 after that. It was just a complete domination.
New Mexico, Michigan State, Rick Pitino in the stands watching his son, Richard Pitino. Rick Pitino probably had the best seats in the house for no in particular reason whatsoever. But yeah, no, he had a great seats and a great view of the game. But yeah, Michigan State was able to come out on top. However, we gave it to the Lobos credit yesterday when we were talking and kind of previewing this game. That I wouldn't put it past the Lobos to play Michigan State hard, and that's exactly what they did. I got to give them a lot of kudos. They showed, in the words of Rafferty, they showed a lot of onions in this game. Yeah,
I mean, this game, Michigan State could just every time you felt like they were about to pull away, New Mexico would just fight right back into it. I thought New Mexico's ability, especially Junior Joseph, who's just one of the funnest big men to watch in this whole tournament, their ability to fight and claw themselves from not just getting blown out suddenly in this game and to keep themselves where they had a chance all the way into the last couple minutes was very impressive. They came up short, but I think everyone respects this New Mexico team after this game. I mean, they beat a good Marquette team in the first round, what was probably one of the stronger 7 seeds, played one of the stronger 2 seeds, and went punch for punch with them. Just came up a little bit short because Michigan State just hit some gigantic shots when they needed to.
Do you think Richard Pitino? I feel like Richard Pitino could get this New Mexico team to a point of where from time to time they get to be as good of like a high seeded Gonzaga team or a high seeded UConn team of one of these smaller conferences, but you get to be a 1, 2, or 3 seed, a high seed Wichita State team. I think
Wichita State's a great comparison.
I think he could get this. I think he could get that New Mexico program to that level from time to time. Maybe not on a regular, consistent basis. That's just hard to do. Even those programs don't do that. But I feel as though there's going to be a year where New Mexico is going to be a top 3 seed in a tournament, and they'll be the kind of the favorite to make a run.
If he sticks there, they definitely can. And I don't know if big jobs are going to come calling his way. He was at Minnesota for a while, did okay there, but not great. Granted, Minnesota, I don't know. It's not really a school that
when was the last time you heard him in the March Madness tournament? I don't really recall them.
I think when he was there, I think they went to the tournament when he was there. And so, yeah, I mean, they were a very good team this year. They were a popular pick over Marquette for a reason, despite the fact that Marquette was a pretty good team. And the toughest thing is just retainment in this era.
Yep.
To be able to grow that team into, I think a lot of these smaller schools are going to start focusing more on basketball. And New Mexico would be a perfect example of that. Just put as much of your eggs as you can into basketball because you don't have a shot in football anyways.
Nope. 100% agree, Jake. All right. Possibly one of the top games, not only of today, but also the tournament. Oregon 83, Arizona 87. This was a back and forth game, and that 7-footer for Oregon, Biddle, that baby hook was as smooth as Kareem, baby. I don't know what it was about him, but he was on fire tonight. Made some big shots, but it was Shellstad with 25 points. He had just a lights out shooting performance towards the end of that game, but too little too late because Caleb Love with the final 10, he had a 10-0 run himself or scored the last 10 points for Arizona himself. And went on that scoring run for a guy who's an experienced player, led the team in scoring with 29 points. He had played 37 minutes, barely came off the court. But he showed why he was probably one of the nation's biggest and best transfers in last year's portal.
Yeah, I mean, if you just go down this stat sheet, everything's almost dead even, which is really funny when you think about how this game went, which was Oregon just jumped up like 17-3, something like that early in this game. And then I was like, oh, this game's over. Then I look up and Arizona has the lead like 10 minutes later. Then I look up and Oregon's got the lead again, and they got a big lead. And then Arizona's got a big lead. It was just back and forth of teams blowing big leads, but it was fun. Yeah. Just because the momentum swings, the crowd, everything about it was a lot of fun. Just it felt like a March Madness-y game that didn't get the March Madness ending because of the lame, analytically correct thing to do, of which if I was a coach, I would probably do it because it is the smarter thing to do, but the fouling went up 3. That ruined any chance of a fun ending in this game.
And the thing about that, though, is you do have to make your free throws on the other end.
But if there's less than 10 seconds left, even if you don't, they got to run it down the court and get a shot off with 4 seconds left.
Yeah.
And so when you're under that, 10 to the biggest risk to me of that is fouling them when they just shoot and you get a foul. And it almost happened in this game. It was very close. But he got him just before he tried to get a shot off.
And I think the refs, unfortunately, know what the players are trying to do, and very rarely are they ever going to call him in the shooting motion. Now, if a player times it up right, you have a chance. But yeah, I agree. It's kind of one of those tough things. But that does it for the first weekend of March Madness. Jake, how would you grade? Give us a grade on your first 2 rounds going into the Sweet 16.
C-.
Really?
Just enough to pass. I mean, we didn't really get a great Cinderella. We had one game that went to down to the buzzer. Didn't have any overtime games.
Nope.
No March Madness is going to get a failing grade for me ever. But there could have been much more.
I think there's been good games. I think there have been really well played games. You're right. We haven't had the pageantry of what we know March Madness to be. We've just had March, essentially. There's not been a lot of madness. I'd be a little lenient. C plus, flirting with a B minus.
See, I could go to a C, maybe close to a C plus, but not a C plus.
Now,
I think a B. I think anything in the B.
No,
I think anything in the B range it would be way too high. There just hasn't. Today maybe could have pushed it. I thought today was a really good day, just because we had 3 or 4 games that were awesome.
I'll say this much: we've had a lot of comebacks, a lot of 12-point deficits. Being
or a lot of almost comebacks that don't end up getting completed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's March Madness. I've had fun. I still love it. But after the last several tournaments we've had, this one does feel like a little bit of a letdown compared to those. That's not really a fair scale, but also if you just look at it just as far as the amount of upsets, the amount of games going down to the wire, this is one of the lowest in the last 20 years.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for today's episode, and Jake and I are signing off finally after this week, and this has been so much fun. I've enjoyed every second of it, but boy, have I lost sleep. And like I said to start this whole thing off, are you really losing sleep if you're watching March Madness? That not necessarily, but definitely brain is mush. Haven't been able to recoup or re-energize anything about me. I've got 3 kiddos at the house too this weekend, so that's also been fun dealing with while trying to watch March Madness as much as I can. But yeah, a fun weekend, good weekend. Glad we get to do the podcast and glad we get to bring all the content to you. And guess what? We'll do it again next week for the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 as well. So for Jacob Jimerson, I'm Tanner Carlson. You've been watching your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns right here on All in Horns, brought to you by Rogue Sports Network. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.